About a month after I bought these boots, I've had them for over 10 years. I went out with a bunch of buddies to a Western bar. It's close to where I live, just a short drive. And we were having a pretty good time. The band they had in there were kind of crappy, where they do okay with songs that you know, but then they throw in a couple of originals and they kind of suck. They don't seem to be aware of like how good the covers are that they do, and the originals they do are just lacking. Anyways, there was one guy that was in the crowd that was just being a real jerk, just being really loud and saying shitty things to the women there, and you could tell people were getting irritated with him. And by the end of the night, I found out there was one of the guys that was at the table next to us was going out with a girl that he used to go out with, and supposedly he treated her like real crap and everything. And so by the end of the night, the two of them were ready to go at it, and they went out through the back, and I was concerned about this one guy because he seemed kind of drunk and everybody sort of hated him. And sometimes when there's somebody like that, it makes the fight even a little bit more brutal. And he had a couple of buddies with him, and the one guy that was getting into that fight with him, the buddies started joining in, and so like a couple of us were pulling these other guys off, and the one guy that I was holding back was really fighting back, wanting to get in on it. It was like, it's a one-on-one fight, there's no reason for you to get in there as well. If your buddy's going to create such a problem, he should be able to take care of himself. And so I kind of got into that with that one guy, and finally ended up just getting him on the ground. And I think I was just down and like had my knee on his chest, but it was kind of awkward to be in that position. So you know, I leaned forward and kind of really put my body weight onto his chest, and then stood up and then just put my boot right on his chest, and I was just holding him down there and then just kind of watching the fight, seeing how it was going. And he was squirming around a little bit, and you know, so I had to put a little bit more. I had about like a quarter of my body weight on me, so you know, almost 50 pounds. And you know, to be a little bit more comfortable, I'd switch and just put one boot on him and then the other. And he was kind of fidgeting around, so I had to lean forward, maybe put half of my body weight on. And eventually got to that point where I guess he was squirming around. I didn't realize it, but he had sort of, his body had shifted, so instead of my boot being on his chest, it was actually like right on his neck. And so I could hear him kind of, you know, gurgling and like gagging a little bit, and I didn't really think much about it. I thought he was just being kind of a wimp. And but I guess the part of the inside of the heel, actually, as I'm feeling, like I feel it's pretty sharp. It's kind of rounded off now because the boots are older, but at that point when the boots were newer, that sharp part, I guess, was just like cutting into his neck. And you know, with the two edges there of the heel, you know, pushing in, I wondered afterwards, it looked like this vampire with a really big mouth was trying to take a bite out of him, because those two sharp edges were probably digging into his neck. And I felt a little bit bad about it afterwards, but you know, it shows that if you got crappy friends that you're hanging out with who treat people like shit, and then you want to get on a fight when it's one-on-one, and it's, you know, making it 2-on-1, 3-on-1, that's just real bad attitude. Anyways, actually I got my dessert here. Maybe I can show you this lemon that I was gonna have later. So like, say if this is the guy's neck, right? So I'm standing on the guy's neck. You've got that sharp inside of the heel. Let's see what it does here. So I'd say if I put it like about I don't know, a quarter of my body weight, and if you're leaning a little bit to the inside there, let's see if that punctures. Well, you can see it's got the imprint there. I'm not sure if that's showing up there. Little V shape there. And at that point when he was squirming a lot, say if I had to put a little bit extra body weight, Yeah, there again you can see the indentation, but the part of the melon that's breaking open is a little bit farther, I guess, extra pressure. Let's try the other side. It's breaking apart on the side too. I wonder if that would be like the side of his neck. So let's say just don't even put much of my body weight there. It's like 10%. Well, that would be about a quarter. And I did hear a burst. Well, that's what happened. His neck didn't do that. It's dripping out. But there was no blood or anything. I was just holding him down. You know, you just put enough pressure on them and they're gonna start behaving. They're gonna be a little bit less of a jerk when you're so yeah, it's still about a quarter of my body weight. This is about half, I guess. So that could have been like his neck if I had put like half of my body weight on. And the whole thing would have definitely been a problem. Well, there goes my dessert. Melon juice is gonna just drip right off the balcony now. So I guess that's the moral of the story, you know, if that's how you're gonna treat people and you're gonna hang out with guys who are jerks. This is something with not a lot of effort. What could happen to you? And you know, you'll basically end up on my boot sole. I wonder if there's much of a mess there. Not too much. But you know, if you really wanted to put a guy into his place, there's a lot that you could do to him. And he would just have to suffer the consequences. Take what's coming to him. So that was his nose. Center that, and if a heel just came right down on his nose, that'd be a visit to the hospital, I'd say. When he's done, I think I'd make him clean up this mess on my sole on my boot. Not too bad. A little bit of walk through some grass would clean that up all right. Now look at the mess I got here that needs to be cleaned up. Got a hose down the balcony. Anyways, pick your friends well, or this could be you under my boot.